The Galactic Military Academy had stood for 3,000 cycles without a single fatality during basic training. That record died the day humanity sent its first batch of recruits. I'm Commander Vrell of the Corthian Diplomatic Corps, and I was assigned as the liaison officer for Earth's inaugural class. 27 species had sent representatives to observe how these new members would perform. Nobody expected what happened next. "They're here," whispered trainee specialist Quinn, one of my aides, as the transport vessel descended onto Landing Bay 7. Through the observation window, I watched 30 human cadets disembark. They looked unremarkable. Soft skin, no natural armor, no claws, no venom sacs. One of them was actually smiling and waving at the crowd of alien personnel gathered to gawk at them. The audacity. "They seem fragile," noted Ambassador Threx from the Molundian Empire, adjusting his eye stalks to get a better look. "How did these creatures survive long enough to achieve space travel?" I shared his confusion. Intelligence reports claimed Earth was classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, but looking at these specimens, I suspected a clerical error. They barely reached 2 meters in height. Their leader, a female named Lieutenant Kira Vasquez, approached our greeting party with an expression that could only be described as enthusiastic. "Commander Vrell?" She extended her hand, a human gesture I'd studied. "Lieutenant Vasquez, reporting for duty. My team is ready to begin immediately." I touched her hand briefly, noting the unusual warmth of human skin. "Mammals. How primitive." "Welcome to Sanctuary Station," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "Your quarters are prepared. Training begins at dawn, cycle tomorrow." "Actually, sir, we were hoping to start today." The trip was only 3 weeks, and we're all pretty restless. 3 weeks. In space, without hibernation. I felt my secondary heart skip. "You remained conscious for the entire voyage?" "Well, yeah," she laughed, and several other humans joined in. "Did you expect us to sleep through it? That's like missing the whole adventure." Threx made a choking sound. His species required stasis for any journey exceeding 4 days, or they'd go mad from the isolation. "Training begins tomorrow," I said firmly. "You'll need time to adjust to station gravity and atmosphere." "Sir, with respect, we've already adjusted. Give us something to do, or my people will start taking things apart to see how they work." "Corporal Hayes over there has already identified 17 security vulnerabilities in your docking bay." I glanced at the indicated human, a male with dark skin and an innocent expression that didn't match the intelligence clearly burning behind his eyes. This was going to be problematic. The first training exercise was supposed to be simple, a basic obstacle course designed for new recruits, featuring low walls, balance beams, and rope climbs. Every species completed it within the acceptable time range of 20 to 40 minutes. The humans finished in 6 minutes and 43 seconds. "Impossible," roared drill instructor Garmack, a massive Throgyan with scales like armor plating. "You must have cheated. You skipped obstacles." Lieutenant Vasquez was breathing hard but grinning. "Sir, no sir. We completed every obstacle as required. Do you want us to run it again? Maybe we can beat our time." "Beat your time?" Garmack's frill extended in agitation. "That course is designed to top peak physical specimens. You're telling me you can go faster?" "Well, nobody was shooting at us. So yeah, definitely wasn't our best effort." The silence that followed was deafening. "Why?" I asked slowly. "Would anyone shoot at you during basic training?" The human female looked confused. "How else do you learn to move under fire?" That's when I started reading the classified sections of Earth's file. What I found made my blood run cold. Or would have if Corthians had blood. "We have a cur, but the sentiment remains. Earth wasn't just a death world. It was the death world. A planet where 95% of native species produced toxins, where weather patterns could kill thousands in minutes, where the dominant predators hunted in packs, used tools, and had learned to cooperate with the apex species, humans, for mutual benefit. And humans. They'd spent 200,000 years climbing to the top of that nightmare food chain. "Commander Vrell, you need to see this," Quinn called from the training ground 3 days later. I arrived to find complete chaos. Medical teams were rushing in all directions, carrying injured cadets from a dozen different species. In the center of it all, the humans stood in a tight circle around something I couldn't see. "What happened?" I demanded. "The humans happened," gasped Instructor Velmith, a peaceful Grindalian who taught survival techniques. "We were running a scenario, simulated predator attack. Standard protocol, 40-minute duration, non-lethal stunning rounds. And the humans won." "Won? It's not a competition. The goal is survival and evasion." "Tell them that." Velmith pointed at the human group. "They didn't evade anything. They hunted the hunter. Tracked it. Trapped it. One of them, Private Thomas Okonkwo, actually tamed the simulation and is now trying to keep it as a pet." I pushed through the crowd. Sure enough, a young human male sat cross-legged on the ground, rubbing the scaled head of our training drone, a 600-kilogram mechanical predator designed to be terrifying. "He's a good boy," Okonkwo said, looking up at me with absolute sincerity. "Can I name him Biscuit?" "It's a combat simulation device, not a companion animal." "Everything's a companion animal if you're patient enough," countered another human, a female called Sergeant Maya Petrov. "Back home, humans have befriended bears, wolves, sharks, even crocodiles. This thing?" She gestured at the drone. "Honestly, kind of a pushover once you figure out its attack pattern. It weighs 600 kilograms and has stun weapons. Yeah, but it's predictable. No creativity. Real predators adapt. Real predators." She was comparing our top-tier military hardware to real predators and finding it lacking. That night, I called an emergency meeting with the Academy board. "They're dangerous," insisted General Mort, tapping his claws on the conference table. "We should send them home." "On what grounds?" asked Chancellor Prex. "They haven't broken any rules. They've excelled at every task." "That's the problem. They're not supposed to excel. They're supposed to learn and grow. These humans act like they've been soldiers since birth." "Actually," I interrupted, pulling up my research, "in a way, they have. Every human hild on Earth grows up learning to avoid hundreds of deadly creatures, navigate dangerous terrain, and survive exposure to elements that would kill most species in minutes. Their planet tries to murder them daily. They think this is normal." "Then we increase the difficulty," suggested Mort. "Give them challenges that match their capabilities." "With respect, General, I don't think we have challenges that match their capabilities. Not safely." I was proven right the following week during the survival exercise. Each species was dropped on a different training moon with minimal supplies and expected to survive for 5 days. Standard procedure. The moons were chosen specifically to be hostile but manageable with proper training. The humans were assigned Moon Sigma 7, a cold desert environment with thin atmosphere and limited water sources. Every species struggled there, with most cadets requiring rescue by day 3. When we retrieved the humans on day 5, they'd built a settlement, not a camp, a settlement, with irrigation systems for the native plants they'd identified as edible, crude shelters that actually improved the thermal efficiency of the natural caves, and a water purification system made from parts of their emergency kits. "We were getting bored," explained Vasquez when I demanded an explanation. "So we figured we'd date ourselves comfortable. Another week and we'd have had sustainable agriculture going. Private Kowalski actually found these fungus things that taste like mushrooms. Made a decent soup." "You ate the native fungus?" I felt faint. It could have been poisonous. "Nah." Kowalski tested it first. Small amount, waited 4 hours, monitored symptoms. Lean bill of health. He tested poison on himself. "How else do you learn what's safe to eat?" She seemed genuinely puzzled by my horror. The breaking point came during week 6, combat training. The scenario was simple. 2 teams, mixed species. Capture the flag. Non-lethal weapons, full tactical gear supervised by the best instructors in the galaxy. Every species sent their finest cadets. The humans sent everyone because, and I quote, "We don't bench people, that's me." The exercise lasted 4 minutes and 17 seconds. The human team didn't just win. They achieved complete battlefield dominance through tactics that none of our military theorists had ever seen. They moved as one organism, communicated through subtle gestures and sounds, and adapted their strategy 17 times in under 5 minutes. Corporal Hayes hacked the enemy's communication network in the first 30 seconds. Sergeant Petrov led a flanking maneuver that shouldn't have been physically possible, given the terrain. And Lieutenant Vasquez, she walked straight through the front line, because, and this is documented, quote, "Sometimes the best strategy is the one nobody expects because it's incredibly stupid." It worked. The opposing team, comprised of veteran cadets from 12 different species, surrendered without firing a shot because the humans had somehow convinced them they were already surrounded. They weren't. There were only 15 humans total. But they'd moved so fast and so efficiently that they seemed to be everywhere at once. Persistence hunting, Vasquez explained during the debrief. Humans evolved as pursuit predators. We're not the fastest or strongest, but we don't stop, ever. We run prey to exhaustion. In this case, we ran your tactics to exhaustion. You kept waiting for the main assault. We kept adapting. Eventually, you had to surrender because you couldn't predict what we'd do next. But there are rules of engagement, protested Tactical Instructor Zorvin. Established military doctrine, proven strategies. Sure, and those work great if everyone follows the same rulebook. Vasquez smiled, and it was the smile of a predator. Humans learned warfare on a planet that didn't care about rules. Every predator we faced had different tactics. Every environment demanded different strategies. We learned to improvise, adapt, and overcome. Or we died. The silence in that briefing room was absolute. So what you're saying, I spoke carefully, is that humans don't have a military doctrine. You have infinite military doctrines, and you switch between them based on circumstances. Basically, yeah. Also, we really like winning. That's when I understood. Every species in the galaxy had evolved on worlds that were, relatively speaking, safe. We developed intelligence to solve specific problems on specific worlds. Our tactics reflected our environments. Humans developed intelligence to survive everything. Their tactics reflected chaos itself. The Academy board met in emergency session that evening. The debate was heated. We need to establish new protocols, General Mort insisted. His scales flushed a deep purple indicating stress. These humans are disrupting every established training method we have. Yesterday, 3 of them convinced a Throgian drill instructor to try their earth beverage called coffee. He didn't sleep for 36 hours and recited his entire military career in alphabetical order. That's actually impressive cognitive enhancement, noted Medical Officer Pillix, reviewing her data pad. The simulant properties are remarkable. Perhaps we should study this coffee. They're weaponizing beverages now. Ambassador Threx's eye stalks drooped in despair. I cleared my throat. With respect, the humans aren't trying to disrupt anything. They're simply being themselves. The problem isn't them. It's that our training was designed for species who evolved in relatively stable environments. Humans didn't have that luxury. Then what do you propose? Asked Chancellor Prex. We learn from them, and we make absolutely certain they never become our enemies. The room fell silent as that implication sank in. Training continued, but with modifications. The Academy staff started documenting human techniques, trying to understand their approach to problem solving. What we discovered was both fascinating and terrifying. During Week 8, I observed their teamwork exercise. Mixed species squads were assigned complex mechanical problems requiring cooperation between different biological capabilities. The Voltorians had fine manipulator tentacles. The Krogs had immense strength. The Prelians had enhanced spatial reasoning. The humans had stubbornness and something they called percussive maintenance. It's not working, stated the Voltorian technician. Specialist Rinks, examining the disabled power core. The coupling mechanism is fused. We need specialized tools we don't have. Private Kowalski stepped forward. May I try something? Unless you have molecular realignment equipment hidden somewhere, I don't see how. Kowalski picked up a wrench and hit the power core exactly 3 times in specific locations. It hummed to life. How? Rinks's tentacles quivered in confusion. That violates at least 7 principles of medical engineering. Yeah, but it works. My grandfather taught me that trick with his old tractor. Sometimes machines just need encouragement. That's not encouragement, that's violence against equipment. Tomato. But the most revealing incident happened during the psychological resilience assessment. Each cadet was placed in an isolation chamber for 24 hours with no stimulation. The goal was to evaluate mental stability under sensory deprivation. Most species began showing stress responses after 6 hours. The Molundians started hallucinating at hour 10. The Throgians became aggressive at hour 15. The humans got bored at hour 2 and started entertaining themselves. When we opened Corporal Hayes's chamber, we found he'd somehow dismantled his monitoring bracelet and rebuilt it into a primitive musical instrument. He was playing something he called jazz. How? I demanded. That bracelet is solid-state technology with no moving parts. Everything has moving parts, if you think about it the right way, Hayes replied, demonstrating his creation. Electrons are moving, right? That's basically music waiting to happen. I just needed to figure out the rhythm. Private Okonkwo had used the time to meditate and apparently achieved what he called inner peace. He emerged calmer than when he entered. Sergeant Petrov had memorized the entire Academy handbook backwards by reciting it mentally. She could now quote any regulation in reverse order. When asked why, she shrugged and said, "Seemed useful. You never know when you might need to confuse an enemy with backwards bureaucracy." The psychological evaluation team concluded that humans either had exceptional mental fortitude or were collectively insane. Possibly both. By week 10, something unexpected happened. The other species cadets stopped being afraid of the humans. They started seeking them out as training partners, asking questions, learning techniques. I found trainee specialist Quinn, my aide, sitting with Lieutenant Vasquez in the commissary, taking notes. "What's happening here?" I asked. "Lieutenant Vasquez is teaching me about asymmetric warfare," Quinn explained enthusiastically. "Did you know that humans once defeated an empire using wooden horses?" "Wooden?" "The tactical implications are astounding." "That's technically mythology," Vasquez interjected. "But the principle is sound. Sometimes the best weapon is the one nobody sees coming." "You're teaching other species human combat tactics. Why not? We're all on the same team, right?" Vasquez looked genuinely confused by my concern. "The stronger everyone is, the better we all fight together. That's how humanity has always worked. We compete, sure, but when threats come, we unite. Every single time." She paused, then added with that predatory smile, "Besides, teaching them our old tricks means we have to develop new ones. Keeps us sharp." The final examination arrived in week 12. A massive combined arms exercise involving all 247 cadets from the current class. The scenario was a planetary defense simulation against an overwhelming invasion force. The Academy Board, along with observers from 30 species militaries, watched from the command center as the simulation began. Standard protocol suggested a defensive posture, using the planet's natural fortifications to wear down the attackers. Victory conditions required surviving for 6 hours against numerically superior forces. The human cadets had other ideas. "We're going on offense?" asked Cadet Rinks, the Valtorian, reviewing the human proposed battle plan with obvious confusion. "Defense is just delayed defeat against superior numbers," explained Vasquez, now acting as the de facto commander because every other species had voted her into the position. "We hit them hard before they establish beachheads, disrupt their command structure, and make them think we're everywhere at once. But the terrain favors defense. The terrain favors whoever uses it better. Trust me." And trust her they did. In the 12 weeks of training, the humans had earned something more valuable than respect. They'd earned loyalty through consistent competence and genuine camaraderie. The invasion force arrived right on schedule. Overwhelming numbers, superior firepower, established military doctrine. They lasted 47 minutes. The humans didn't defend the planet. They infiltrated the invasion fleet itself. Corporal Hayes hacked their systems. Private Kowalski convinced 3 enemy battalions that they were attacking their own forces through mimicked communication signals. Sergeant Petrov led a strike team that captured the enemy command ship by hiding in their own supply containers. Lieutenant Vasquez didn't fire a single shot. She didn't need to. She'd spent the first 30 minutes of the battle convincing the simulated enemy commander that continuing the invasion was illogical, because the defenders had already mined the planet's core and would destroy everything rather than surrender. It was completely false. The mine didn't exist. But the enemy didn't know that, and by the time they figured it out, their fleet was in disarray and their command structure had collapsed. The simulation ended with total victory. 0 casualties on the defending side. Complete rout of the invasion force. The command center was absolutely silent as the final statistics displayed. Then General Mort started laughing. It was a deep rumbling sound I'd never heard from a Throggian before. "Brilliant," he roared. "Absolutely brilliant. They won a battle they should have lost by convincing the enemy they'd already lost. That's not in any manual we have." "That's because it's insane," muttered Ambassador Threx. But even he sounded impressed. Chancellor Prex turned to me. "Commander Vrell, your assessment." I chose my words carefully. "Humanity doesn't fight the way we understand fighting. They don't view warfare as a formal exchange of violence. They view it as a problem requiring creative solutions. Every human is trained from birth to survive impossible situations, which means they don't recognize impossible when they see it. Is that good or bad? Yes. The graduation ceremony was scheduled for the following week. All cadets who completed training would receive their commissions and assignments in various fleets throughout the galaxy. The night before graduation, I found Lieutenant Vasquez alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "Nervous about tomorrow?" I asked. "A little," she admitted. "This has been amazing, Commander. Learning about all these different species, understanding how the galaxy works. It's everything humanity hoped for when we reached for the stars. You've certainly made an impression. Every species here wants humans assigned to their fleets now." She laughed. "Yeah. I heard. Apparently we have a reputation for pulling off miracles. Kind of funny, really." "How so?" "Because from our perspective, we're just doing what needs to be done. Humans don't believe in impossible. We never have. Our entire history is people being told something can't be done, then doing it anyway out of spite, curiosity, or sheer stubbornness. Usually all three. That's a dangerous philosophy, maybe. But it's kept us alive on a planet that kept trying to kill us. And now," she gestured at the vast expanse of space beyond the window. "Now we get to see if it works out here too. The galaxy isn't ready for humanity. The galaxy doesn't have a choice. We're here now. But here's the thing, Commander." She turned to face me, and her expression was serious. "We're not here to conquer or dominate. We're here to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Every species we've met has something to teach us, and maybe we have things to teach them too. That's what makes this exciting. And if the galaxy rejects humanity," her smile returned, sharp and confident, "then the galaxy will learn the same lesson Earth's predators learned about humanity over 200,000 years. We don't give up. We don't surrender. We adapt, overcome, and eventually, we win. Not because we're the strongest, or the fastest, or the smartest, but because we absolutely refuse to lose." Graduation day arrived with appropriate ceremony. The Academy Board presented commissions to all graduating cadets. When they reached the human contingent, something unprecedented happened. Chancellor Prex stepped forward. "The Galactic Military Academy has stood for 3,000 cycles. In that time, we have trained warriors from hundreds of species. We have established protocols, doctrines, and traditions that form the foundation of galactic defense." He paused, looking directly at the human cadets. "You have broken every single one of them. You have questioned our methods, ignored our limitations, and consistently achieved what we deemed impossible. You have been disruptive, unpredictable, and absolutely infuriating." The humans stood at attention, unsure where this was going. "You have also been brilliant. In 12 weeks, you have taught this academy more about warfare, survival, and cooperation than we've learned in centuries. You have proven that sometimes the best solution is the one nobody else would consider. And you have done this while earning the respect and friendship of every species here. Prex produced a medal I'd never seen before. By unanimous vote of the Academy Board and with support from all 30 observer species, we are establishing a new honor. The Deathworld Commendation, awarded to those who demonstrate exceptional courage, innovation, and refusal to accept defeat. He pinned the medal on Vasquez's uniform. Lieutenant Kira Vasquez and the entire human graduating class. Congratulations. You are the first recipients. We suspect you won't be the last. The ceremony hall erupted in applause from hundreds of alien throats, translated through dozens of biological mechanisms into a cacophony of celebration. Later, as I watched the transport ships depart carrying newly commissioned officers to their assignments across the galaxy, Quinn approached me. "Commander, do you think they'll be all right out there?" I considered the question. Humans were heading into the unknown, facing dangers they couldn't anticipate, working with species they barely understood. "They'll be more than all right," I replied. "They're humans. They come from a planet that spent millions of years trying to kill them, and they not only survived but thrived. Space might be hostile, but it's got nothing on Earth. And now they've got something they never had before." "What's that?" "Allies. Friends from across the galaxy who've learned to trust them. Humans alone are dangerous. Humans working with others?" I shook my head. The universe isn't ready for what that combination can achieve. As the last transport disappeared into faster-than-light travel, I pulled up my personal log and made a final entry about the Academy's first human class. Note to future instructors: humanity has joined the galactic community. Adjust all training protocols accordingly. Expect the unexpected. Question all assumptions. And whatever you do, never ever tell a human something is impossible. They take it as a personal challenge. Also, stock up on this coffee substance. We're going to need it. I closed the log and smiled. 3,000 cycles of tradition, shattered in 12 weeks. The humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. Somewhere in the distance, I heard laughter. Human laughter, echoing through the station one last time before they departed. It sounded like the beginning of something extraordinary. Every alien species learned the same lesson about Deathworld cadets. They don't play by the rules because the rules weren't written for species that evolved in hell and decided to make it home. And honestly, we were all better for learning it.